Presenter today is Bob Frey, WA6EZV, and myself, Dick, WB4SUV. We've both been fox hunting for quite some time, longer than I want to probably admit. So, 45 years, oh, between us, I don't know, yeah. Anyway. Okay, basically, fox hunting, it can be very, very addictive. It can, in the uses, it can be used, it's very educational, the knowledge you get from it, and it can be either mobile or on foot, or a combination of both. First of all, I want to just ask, how many people here have not done fox hunting before? Okay, very good group. That's great. Okay, how many people here have built one of these? Quite a few. Okay, good. That seems like the most common piece of gear that for fox hunting that you start everybody out on. I'm going to show you a modification I made for that because I recently did a presentation to a local club, and I've got at least a half a dozen people that want to start doing the fox hunting, and and they've done some of the on-foot fox hunts, and they want to transform to mobile. I'll show you something that I did that that will change that. Now, one of the things you need, obviously you need an antenna. There are basically three things you're going to have. You need an antenna. One of these antennas like this will do just fine. If you can just Google tape measure antenna, and you'll have more hits on it than you can imagine, and it'll tell you exactly how to build one of these. There's a lot of little different ways that some people use. Instead of using the hose clamps, they'll use sheet metal screws to hold the elements on or something like that, minor things. Personally, I don't like using the screws. The elements get loose when you do that. You can hold them on with hose clamps. You can put wire ties on, or just put a bunch of tape around it and put them on. And if you see me afterwards, I can show you a couple of little things that you would do that makes it a little bit cleaner. Mostly. You keep talking, I'll get it out. Mostly, if you take a hacksaw and cut down alongside the edge right here, you can see how that's nice and smooth. It doesn't, if I put this across the top right there and put hose clamps on it, it's going to have a crinkle in it, and so it makes it a little bit nicer doing it that way. You could use a loop antenna. Arrow Antennas makes the loop antenna. I have not used one myself. I don't know if has anybody in here used one of these loop antennas? Did you? What did you think of it? You didn't care for it? Okay. I saw the price tag on it, and I didn't. Yeah. Okay. Okay. That's kind of what I thought anyway. I mean, I know I've heard people talk about the narrow bandwidth of it, but yet on the other hand, the gain of it is you might not even be able to hear the. Yeah. Sorry, Tim. Okay. You need a receiver. You need a receiver in order to do a. And we're talking for the most part right now is an on-foot type hunt. You will need a receiver, and I show on the slide here this little blue box right here, VK3YNG. Now, if you can get your hands on one of those, that's the Cadillac right there. Personally, well, yeah, there are some things that will that are better than what that is. Yes, the Rig Expert. Do they make it still? Yeah, you can't. I'm talking about. And the problem is, even with this the little blue box, the guy that makes them can't get the chips right now, so he's not selling them right now because you can't get the chips for them. So we'll leave that off.
The big thing about them, if you can get them, is there's a 5-minute learning curve.
Yes. We have between Bob and I think we have almost 10 of them. And we work with Boy Scout troops and everything else quite a bit. And in literally 5 minutes, you can show somebody how to use it and send them out in the field, and they can fox hunt. And they're very easy to use. They do not require an attenuator, and that's the next thing is you have to have when you're fox hunting. Bob's holding up an attenuator right now. There's attenuators come in 2 different flavors. What? No, I don't have it. But this is what they refer to as a passive attenuator. I wouldn't waste my money on one. If you found one at a flea market, they're good maybe from the start. If you're doing a mobile hunt, they're good from the start of a mobile hunt. If you have too much signal, and you can flip the switches as you get closer. But when you get right on top of the transmitter, you may as well take it completely off. In fact, most of the time you can take the antenna off the receiver, and you're still going to have full-scale deflection on whatever meter you're trying to use. Yes?
You ever try nulling it out? Take the antenna off, face the other way, go for 2.
Yeah, we tried doing that.
You can, yes.
Putting out 50 watts?
Never mind.
And we hunted them with 50 watts.
Never mind.
The needle doesn't move off of
It
the
doesn't
peg.
move off peg.
Yes.
So this is an active attenuator. This particular one, now they come in all different what the offsets might be. The most popular one today, and you can actually, if you needed an offset attenuator, Google offset attenuator, and it'll take you to a guy's site that's up in Michigan, and he makes a really nice attenuator. I think you can buy it. In fact, Bob has one here on your. What?
I will talk about
Okay, Bob will explain that, but it's a really nice attenuator, and so you can Google just active attenuator or offset attenuator, and it'll take you to his site also.
These
So.
are 500 kilohertz offset. The board in there is about 1 inch by 2 inches.
Yeah.
From a place called Far Circuits, and I think you can still get the board from there.
No, you can't get the board. I think Far Circuits has gone out of business.
They gone?
I haven't found a single thing on their site that's anything recent. So I think they're out of business. I looked on their site. If you're going to do mobile hunts, you're going to need the same pieces of equipment, but the things for the mobile hunt that would be a little bit different is that, one, instead of looking at a little bar graph on an HT, which you're probably going to be using if you're doing an on-foot hunt. Instead of looking at that, the ideal thing is to have something that is not as much of a distraction when you're trying to drive and fox hunt. Now, ideally is to at least have a co-pilot, so the driver's not sitting there trying to look at a little S meter on an HT. I highly recommend, at least hunting in pairs, especially if you have to use an HT. But the thing that's nice about one of these older radios, and Bob can show you I think that's an old Kenwood radio. The meter that's on those old radios, like an old Memorizer or this particular one, that meter, all you have to do is go into the radio, lift one lead off of that meter, doesn't matter which one, lift one lead off that meter, and now you got 2 places to hook something to. Get yourself a 100 microamp meter, and I almost guarantee you the 100 microamp meter is going to be just about right, exactly what you might have to put a resistor in series with it to knock it down just a little bit more, but the 100 microamp meter is going to be just about exactly what you want. You can mount that up on your dashboard, and now you've got, instead of looking at a little tiny meter, and we're going to show you how that works. You got it? What?
I should have put an active attenuator in.
The active attenuator is on there.
Oh.
Is the radio turned on?
Yes.
Or you want me to turn the radio and you turn the attenuator? Please? As you can see, I mean, the radio is literally laying almost right on top of the radio. So I can guarantee you, if I went to this right now, it's offset 500 kcs from what the frequency is. The frequency, as you can see on there, I forgot what frequency that radio was, but 4704. And but the radio's 500 kcs off, and as you can see. You just turn the little knob, and you can turn the antenna, and you can actually see, okay, it's in this direction, and that's where I say an active attenuator or an offset attenuator is the preferred way. The downside of the radio that like what we have is that most of your attenuators that you find today are 4 meg offset attenuators. The only problem is if you're trying to offset using a radio like this, that radio won't go out of the ham bands, and so 4 megs, you can't use these. You have to have an offset attenuator. If you're using one of these older radios, you have to have an offset attenuator that 2 meg, 1 meg, 500 kc. So you have to come up with an attenuator that is a little bit less than 4 megs. So.
Even though we're on top of the transmitter, we can dampen it all the way down to the point where you can continue. I got the scale here,
Now the advantage of like I said about the little blue box, you don't need the attenuator with the little blue box. It does it automatically. It automatically attenuates, and then it lets you know, even with some digits on there, it'll actually come up and show you almost on 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, or actually 0 through 9. The little number will come up and let you know that how close you're getting to it. So you can even just look at the digit and you say, hey, I know I'm really getting close now. So.
It dampens at 15 dB at a time. So if you hit a 5 or a 6 or 7, you're probably standing on top of it or almost.
So.
You've got 100 dB.
Let me get. Okay, I told you what you need already on that, and there again, there's the picture of the different attenuators that you might find. But you mostly what you're going to find out there today is 4 megahertz attenuators, and they work fine with the mobile radios. I mean, with the handheld radios. Ideally, having a compass is probably a good thing to have also. On any type of hunt, whether it's a mobile hunt or on foot. Now, if it's an on foot hunt and it's in a little small park, like what we're gonna have actually a fox hunt tomorrow, and everybody in here is welcome to come and attend, and we'll have a couple extra pieces of equipment that you're welcome to borrow. We won't have enough for everybody, but first people.
Probably bring a dozen if we had.
Well, we probably, but we'd be happy to bring some extra antennas and so forth. We have a fox hunt tomorrow at 4 o'clock, directly across the street from Hamvention, that little park that's right there. If you look and see the antenna tower that's there, the big mobile antenna tower that's there, the park is right next to that tower, but it's directly across the street from almost where you come in for Hamvention. We'll be having a fox hunt tomorrow at 4 o'clock in the park. We have 37 transmitters that on different frequencies that we'll be putting out.
You don't have to bring any antenna with you, just walk around and take step on one.
Yeah. Now, I've told you that the hardest part about putting out 37 transmitters is trying to remember when you go to pick them all up is where you put them all. So So, although we do seem to get a little bit of help hiding, and at least I don't have to remember 37. It's, the guys from Chicago help us out, and so we have a few people. We give you a section, say, okay, you take these transmitters and you get that area over there, and so forth. So that helps a little bit. So.
Compass. You were talking about compasses originally.
Oh yeah, well, I'll let you talk about the compass. So. And then, of course, optional is going to be some GPS mapping software and things of that sort. There again, if you're mobile hunting, it's ideal. At least, I committed to going to a hunt next in 2 weeks. That's out of town for me, and I have no idea of a single street that's in that town. So hopefully, I can find a map someplace that I can use. Most people that have hunts, they have some kind of a scoring system, and the scoring system can be numerous things. I know that the guys here in Chicago, you generally have your hunts are the first to find, aren't you? And your hunts are also a combination of mobile hunt and then on foot hunt. So usually they might be hidden. You might find a park that he's in, or at least you assume that he's in anyway, and then you go on foot from there on. So, but it could also be, a lot of fox hunting clubs and so forth. It's not first to find, but it's the shortest mileage. And I guess the advantage of that is that you don't have to worry about with shortest time to find. Traffic laws are optional, so you don't have to worry about that. You can have timed hunts. Most people put a time on the hunt. They also put a certain boundary and say that you have to stay within a certain county or a certain radius of a certain area, things like that. Out in California, they have some hunts, they call them no rules hunts, and you can do anything on those hunts, and it might be 2-3 days. It could be, you could be 7 or 8 hours trying to find the transmitter because of the distance that you have. The worst hunt that I ever went on was a night hunt, and the person that was hiding had a radio with about a piece of coax, piece of RG8 coax on the end of it, with a rubber ducky, swinging it around like this, around and around. Now you talk about something that was difficult to find. Your meter's doing this constantly, and it'd be vertical one time and horizontal, and that was the most difficult hunt that I can ever remember going on myself. For hunting on the cheap, okay, one thing I'd like to show you that.
I got it. Go ahead. Okay.
If you want to do mobile hunting, first of all, build yourself one of the tape and like I said, I'm working with a group right now that wants to advance from hunting in the park using their HT and so forth to mobile hunting. The way you can modify your antenna, your tape measure antenna, I put pieces of PVC pipe on there just like that there, taped it on the ends, and I actually, to test it out, I took it down the highway and I drove 60 miles an hour with a tape measure antenna, and it did not flutter in the least bit. But and it was using I used a paint roller. Well, here's the mast.
Okay, good. Thank you.
Now, one thing I would advise if you're making the setup like that the one on the very top, that the piece of PVC, if you cut it like this, if you cut it like this, and that's not perfectly straight across, it's, leaves a little bit more than half, you can just snap it on there and then put hose clamps around it, and that makes it much easier to get it back apart again. Now you can imagine what that'd be like trying to slip that into your car if you had that all glued together like that. That would be a real pain. So putting like this, and then for a handle, that's the handle right there, you can snap the handle. You heard that snap on there. Now you have not only you have of course the paint roller is going to be right about where your hand is right there. But now you've got a handle you can put on. You have to tape that a little bit. So now you have a handle that's pointing in the direction. So now that's a very, very cheap and easy way to get into fox hunting. You will have to have something of some sort, like where the handle where you're pulling the car door closed. That's nothing but a couple pieces of 2x4. I drilled a hole not quite all the way through so it fits inside that, and that's going to be different on every single car. But I have several of them made up that are a little bit different, and we have actually gone on some of our hunts before, and somebody shows up and says, "I would like to hunt." I carry an extra radio with me with a meter, the antenna, and the whole works, and we can actually set somebody up in just a few minutes that has never had a piece of equipment on their car, and they can try to fox hunt. So this is a very cheap and easy way to go about.
Door handle, this comes up through here, and the frame of your window is like in the picture. You just tape this, and now you've got a perfectly rotated.
Take that paint roller and just tape it onto, put quite a bit of tape on there. Now I will say, if you make the mast right there, if you make it very long, I would advise maybe it wouldn't be a bad idea to get a broom handle or something like that and stick in the middle of the PVC pipe. I have seen somebody dragging their antenna down the expressway before because it snapped off going down the expressway, and so you can. So that I would highly advise putting a dowel rod or something in the middle of it if you're going to use that and make the mast very long.
4 or 5 of them, and there's some pretty good dowels in them. And one of the comedies is when I was hunting with a guy named Jim Snyder once. I had a 4-element quad on it coming out of it, and it cracked off, and the quad sort of floating along above the ground as long as we were doing 60 mile an hour. So it was like, don't slow down until I can pull the antenna. So I'll never forget that one.
Yes. So here's another picture of the the antenna of the paint roller that's taped on there. Okay, that's you, Bob.
Hey, that's me. Okay. So one of the themes of
Why don't you get on there?
one of the themes we like to stay with a little bit, but we like to show the extremes also is hunting on the cheap. So Dick showed you a $10 to $20 tape measure antenna that you can use for mobile and you can use for on foot, with a real simple mounting system, with how many radios do you buy today? 3?
3.
For $60 total. That all 3 of them will work very nicely for mobile fox hunting because they have the analog meters you can outboard to a big meter. So not expensive to get into the hobby by any means. We do want to show you a couple of other things, and one of these I call Dopplers, 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 and more Dopplers. They've been around a long time, and they are supposedly high-tech. The Gorilla came out in the 97s, a Roanoke came out in 98. There's a Ramsey, the Doppler Systems, another one called PA8W, where basically you have a series of antennas that electrically switch at a very high rate of speed and sample an incoming signal.
I'll find out if anybody here has a Doppler.
Anybody have a Doppler?
Uses a Doppler.
Anybody, I see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Anybody have the Kraken? 1. Okay, I got 1. He's got 1. Matter of fact, we ran it all the way up here. If you got in the parking lot, you'll find my car real easy. 5 antennas sticking up. Okay, so these are just some of those that have been around for a long time. The one I'm going to talk very quickly about, I don't want to get into it because this is a steep learning curve on how to use it. It's called the Kraken SDR. It came out a couple of years ago. The picture you see on the far edge over there is mine mounted on a board, which is on the back seat of my car. It comes with 5 antennas, and you can basically see the this is test. How come that picture's up? Oh, the next one, sorry. Here we go. That's better. You can see where it's mounted. You can see the 5 antennas spaced on top of the vehicle. And right now it's just showing them, it uses a GPS. But to run a Kraken, you need the Kraken itself with its 5 antennas. You need a Raspberry Pi running proprietary software. You need a hotspot enabled that you can get IP addresses from on your vehicle. You need a auxiliary display, be it your phone or be it another Android device. And you need a GPS. So, as I said, this is not a simple system to get up and running. I mean,
Your hotspot cannot be an Apple.
yeah, Dick has.
It has to be an Android.
Yeah, this system likes Androids. Trust me, not Apples. Dick found out the hard way. Unfortunately, we're still trying to resolve some of that. We're getting close to being able to run it with an Apple. But I mean, you got to fire up your hotspot, then you got to fire up your Kraken, then you got to fire up your Raspberry Pi. Then you got to tell your software what the address that was DHCP'd to them. Then you can make sure your GPS is connected. And you can set the gain of your antennas. So there's some things to learn. And after you've learned all that, then you got to try and figure out what the heck the displays are telling you. And this is what it looks like when you're out mobile. You see a loop. You see a directional bearing. Like here, and then you see this is what they call the hotspot. This is where it's getting the highest signal. So basically, it's from here and out this way is where I'm going to find it.
Hey, Bob, you can take the mic with you.
Yeah, you're right. One of the interesting things about it is you can also go out to the internet, and we can share this data on a website. And so you can do PC collaboration. It's kind of interesting. If we were to have 3 of these units out there in different locations, you could be sitting at home, bring up the website, and see all 3 of our bearings online on a real-time map, and see where they cross and say, we know where he might be. Okay, so you can do real-time collaboration. So it's kind of interesting. Okay, I don't want to get a lot into the Dopplers because they're a topic unto themselves, basically, and very expensive. Yes, man just went like that. He's not kidding. Well, we're talking very high expense to get one of these up and running, $500-600 or more. Okay, so that's all I'm going to say about that.
What are the disadvantages of a Doppler?
Yes, disadvantages of a Doppler. Anybody think of one? Yeah.
Durable against horizontal signals, have lots of problems with reflections, and they're very insensitive.
Well, I'm going to take this up one at a time. First, they'll work horizontal or vertical. You just don't have as much signal. Second, what was the other one about?
Insensitive.
Insensitive? Yes, that's true. What are the antennas on a Doppler? They're a quarter wave. So you're hunting with a quarter wave antenna, all right? So, yeah, not a lot of gain there, okay? It's basically an omnidirectional quarter wave antenna on each of the 5 antennas. So they're not real sensitive. You need a decent signal. One easy way to defeat them is put out a transmitter with low power. It doesn't see it, okay? So, and then your third one?
Reflections.
No, only if you're standing still. Dopplers are meant to be in motion because what's it doing? It's sitting there and sampling 5 antennas at a very high rate, 3 or 4, depending on your system, but they're spinning around, okay? And they're averaging out those reflections as long as you're in motion. If you're standing still, nah, you ain't got a prayer, okay? Because it's going to latch onto the strongest reflection or signal, whichever you want to call it. So, yeah, they're designed to be in motion. So there are advantages and disadvantages to it. But if you're in motion and you go by it, it will let you know real fast, okay? So there's some pluses also. Okay. Now, we're going to talk about radio orienteering, my love, amateur radio direction finding, or what we call on-foot hunting. What is it? What you might need? Again, that old theme again, getting started on the cheap, especially on 2 meters. We're going to show you all kinds of examples of transmitters and receivers. We're going to talk about the ARRL's involvement, some of the things that are going on with IARU Region 2. It has a web presence. And with that, very simply, radio direction finding is a combination of 2 sports, direction finding and orienteering. If anybody know what orienteering is? 1, 2, 3, 4, half a dozen of you, so many, okay? Orienteering is an on-foot activity where somebody goes out in the woods and they set up a bunch of flags and draw a circle where that flag is, and then they come back to you and hand you a map, and you take a map and a compass, and it says, okay, in order, find these 10 points. That's basic orienteering, okay? And it's a skill to be learned because when we first started, we were pretty good fox hunters, we thought. We were terrible orienteers. I'll guarantee it. But, and so it's an acquired skill also, because you're using what they call a topographical map, highly detailed map showing hills, valleys, rootstocks, trails, creeks, boulders, and a whole bunch of other stuff that you have to learn to read, and it takes some time. So it's a learned skill, okay? So regular orienteering, remember I said he put them all out there, and then he drew circles and said, here they all are. Well, radio orienteering is a little bit different. They give you that map, and they give you, it says, okay, you're starting here, you're finishing here. That's all the information you're getting. They forgot to put the circles on the map. So you have to triangulate each of the signals in turn. So you're taking a map and you're drawing lines constantly while you're in motion to try and determine the direction that you have to travel for the transmitters. Now, the unique thing about radio orienteering is what in a typical course, you will find between 3 and 5 transmitters out in the woods, and depending on your age group. But the key is they're all on the same frequency. So what happens is first transmitter comes on, and for 1 minute says, this is me. Then it turns itself off. Then the second transmitter comes on and says, this is me. Then it turns itself off. Then the third, then the fourth, then the fifth, and then it starts all over again. So you've got 5 minutes to go 1, 4, 3, 2, 5, I think. Okay? So you cross your fingers because that's about it. Because you've got to commit to a transmitter somewhere along the line and go and find that one. Okay? And you're running while it's on for 1 minute, and for 4 minutes, you're walking, crawling, running, whatever, blind, hoping that you've got the right bearing, and you're still going towards that transmitter. Okay, so 4 minutes, you're praying that when it comes on, you're closer to it. All right? That's the basics of radio orienteering. Real simple, right? Nothing to it. Okay. Again, what you need, not anything different than Dick said. You need a receiver and or an attenuator. You need a directional antenna, a compass, and a map, okay? Nothing different than on a mobile hunt, except your antenna, we hope, will be a lot lightweight, and your receiver, again, you want something that has attenuators. When we first started, the old keepsake was nothing more than a handheld with an S meter and an active attenuator, okay? Put them on a plate and carry them on your Yagi antenna, okay? Inexpensive way to do it. All right, right here, wake up. Come on. Okay. I will take this off. This is what I call studied on the sheep. You've got a tape measure antenna. You've got an attenuator. In this case, this is a $10, $10 to $12 attenuator by KC9ON. And this is a handheld with an S meter. That's it. That is all I need to do on-foot fox hunting. That gives me enough to get directivity with the Yagi, dampen the signal as I get closer to it, and watch my S meter to know that I'm going in the right direction. That's all you need. It does help to carry a map with you, topographical, hopefully, when you're on foot, and a compass, and we'll talk about those. And one other thing we need to talk about real quick. Hello. Acting up, are you? All right, be that way. When we do hunts for people, and we've done them in parks, we've done them at picnics, Boy Scouts, God yes, Boy Scouts out the kazoo, we wanted to set out a simple transmitter in the park that's 100 meters away, something like that. Very simple, less than a football field. We use a real simple controller and a handheld. This is one that we use. It's very important. This uses good old Arduino Nano and one resistor and a little bit of programming, and I plug it into the handheld and set the handheld up for Vox. Turn it on, and I have an ID Fox going off. Okay, and the whole thing cost me $10. So that's one form of a transmitter. Here's what we've been talking about a little bit. This is 3D Planet Solar. They make a 1 megahertz offset active attenuator. It comes as a kit. All the parts are labeled in individual packets. 4 megs? 4 meg? 4 meg. Thank you. Sorry, 4 meg offset attenuator. There's the whole board. It's about that big a square. That's the whole thing. It mounts in a box, and it's 10 to 15 bucks. Now, they've come out with a new one. That's this fancy one here, and it's on here. That's a box here. They're about $32, I think. Fully assembled, ready to go. You don't have to do anything except put it on your boom. The one nice thing about these is it comes with a switch on the back of it that says I am in line, I am not in line. So you can hunt on the fundamental until it gets to be too strong. Then you just simply turn it on, go your 4 megs offset, and keep on going. Now this particular one I got here actually lets me just clip a handheld right on here and carry it with the handle. So.
And if you make one of these antennas, and you intend to put one of these on there, purchase one, be sure to make your antenna out of half-inch PVC.
Yeah.
Because it's made for half-inch PVC.
Yes, it is. But that's the way to do it. We talked about this. That's the one we showed you. It's not too tough. It takes one resistor and a little wiring to the battery. There is another one that just recently came across. This one here doesn't use your Vox, but actually keys your radio. It uses a little 5-volt relay, and again, an Arduino Nano. That cost me about $10, $11 to make. But again, they plug right into the handheld. You program them with a piece of software or whatever IDs you want. It says, I'm the Fox, come and find me, or whatever, and you call. And they plug right into a Bofang or a Woosan or a Chin Chang or whatever brands out there nowadays. And they work very well, okay? So these are ways to get transmitters up and running that will ID, cycle, and can be unattended. The one thing I like about this particular one is I can take it and set it out, and then I can set a touchstone to it to turn it on, and another touchstone to turn it off. Okay, so it's remote programmable on-off. The Vox one is not. So I found that to be very, very nice thing to be able to do. We talked again about active attenuators. We have 2-meter receivers, past and present. Most of it started with a handheld of one form or another. Moved on to some different receivers. That's an Australian receiver, and of course the Brian Ackerley VK3YNG. The last one that you see, the opened box, is from a gentleman named Nick Roth, DF1FO. He designed this solid state receiver and our attenuator, and eventually he sold all of his materials out to a place called Rig Expert. And Rig Expert manufactured over there, which unfortunately are not available again. But this has receiver built into the handle. It will store up to 6 different frequencies. I can tell it, set it up for timing, so that, let's say they're on for a minute, well, at 50 seconds, it will beep at me and say you got 10 seconds to take a bearing before the next one comes on. It will do what we call automatic ramping, which says, okay, you're getting closer. I kicked in 10 dB, 20 dB, 30 dB, all automatically. You don't do a thing except watch the meter, okay, when you're behind you or in front of you, etc. It's got setups for multiple types of hunts. Now, in on-foot orienteering, we've been talking basically about what we call a classic 2-meter hunt. There is also a classic 80-meter hunt, where you hunt on 3.7 megahertz, give or take. There's also something called a FOXO, which is a combination of fox hunting and orienteering. And now you get a regular orienteering map with all the circles on it. And you start out going to the first circle. When you get to that circle, you now grab your DF equipment and say, oh, we forgot to tell you that within 100 meters of where you are, there's a fox. So now you've got to go find the fox, and then go find the next one. And then, what do you want? Okay, that's FOXO. That's a little different. And then just to top it all off, a couple years ago, well, I guess more than a couple years ago now, they introduced something called the Sprint. And in the Sprint, he says, okay, you're finding 3 to 5 transmitters on 80 meter. Then you're going to go find a what we call spectator beacon. Then you're going to change frequencies, and you're going to find 3 to 5 more 80-meter transmitters. What they haven't told you is they're on for 12 seconds. Yeah, so in a 1-minute span, all 5 of those transmitters have come on and started over again. Mm-hmm. A typical sprint competition has a maximum time of 60 minutes, 1 hour. And winning times can be anywhere between 30 and 40 minutes. Okay, they're not nearly as long as a classic. Yes, I mean, they're typically a couple kilometers, okay, where a classic can be, take your pick, 5 to 12 kilometers, something like that, long ways. Okay, 80 meters, it's interesting that 3 out of the 4 competitions I mentioned actually are held on 80 meters. And this just shows some of the types of equipment were out there. And believe me, there was a lot of it out there over the years. This was a little test I did, and I've got the laying over there, matter of fact, Dick, at the end of the table. This shows actually 3 Chinese units that are manufactured. They're very low end. They were like $20. And we had a bunch of scouts make these a couple years ago for Youth on the Air Camp. And then they did the Foxhunt on 80 meter. The 4th one is a older German unit. And then just recently, a group up in Canada came up with something called the RX80W. And that's this little box here, believe it or not. And this is actually has directivity and sense and everything. We just recently got one to play with. And I did a little subjective testing of, okay, I'm going to put out a whopping 10 milliwatt 80 meter transmitter here. Yeah. And set that up on a stake, and then I'm going to see how far away I can hear it. And by comparison, you can see the distances, and this actually came in second. The only thing that beat it is, again, something called the Fox, or the Fox Rex, yes, by Rig Experts. It's the Cadillac persona of 80 meter receivers. It again does everything that the 2 meter version does. And it's very competition grade, but these are like $110, $115. So I was very pleased with the price, and we're still experimenting with them to see how they'll do on a competition level. But everything we found so far, not too bad. Okay, there we go. Transmitters, we talked about them. There's all kinds of transmitters for 80 meters. Long time ago, we did something called the Rick Strobe 80 meter Fox. It's a 1x2 board. It actually puts out 3 watts. We feed those into crappie poles with 16-foot antennas, and you can hear them 3 to 4 miles away. So they work very well. We've used something called the ATX80 and the TRO2s over the years. The Foxos use something called the Mini Fox that's becoming more popular. It was developed over in the Czech Republic area. So those are a couple of those. One thing I would like to mention to you is every year the U.S. has a national competition, the Radio Orienteering Championships. This year they are held in Ann Arbor, Michigan in October. And do I have no slide on that? No. Yeah. So you can register for it. It's online. It typically brings some of the best from across all the U.S., plus sometimes people down from Canada. And occasionally we even get some Europeans. 1 or 2 years we've gotten as many as, how many Chinese? Oh, Lord. Yeah, busloads of Chinese actually came over and competed, which was really interesting. And they ran their own competitions. The nice thing about this is you do not even need a ham license to participate. What are you doing? You're doing nothing but receive, right? You're not transmitting. You don't even need a license to compete. And anybody can compete. We've had them 10 years old all the way up to my age. We'll leave it at that.
I'll give them a little information about progressive hunts.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah, Dick forgot one, so he's going to get that before I go to the last slide.
Okay. One type of hunt that I didn't mention, and like I said, the group that I just recently did some training with and so forth, that's what they elected to go with for their very first mobile hunt. And I'll give you the reason why. It's called a progressive hunt. And with a progressive hunt, everybody gets a chance generally to be the fox. Let's say, just for example, you all meet at 9 o'clock in the morning. You all meet at McDonald's, and one person says, "Okay, I'll be the fox first." Okay, you give that person. You do have to establish a couple rules. Those couple rules might be, okay, you got to stay within a certain county or something like that, something typical like that. You got to be on private. You can't be on private property. Just simple things like that. But one person, 15 minutes. You say, okay, you got 15 minutes to go start transmitting, and they have to find some place. I mean, out of the blue, they take off from McDonald's, and that first person's got 15 minutes to go find a place to hide and start transmitting. Transmitting could be nothing more than sitting there reading out of a QST magazine, 15 seconds worth of verbiage for every minute. And that person just continues that until the very first person finds them. Let's say you have 5 people that are in this group. So you've got four other people hunting besides the person that hid. The very first person that finds you, you don't announce, "I've been found." You will continue just transmitting and reading out of the QST or whatever it is. But that very first person that finds you, they've got 15 minutes to go find a place to hide themselves. And so now, as soon as that 15 minutes is up, if not everybody has found the first person yet, that first person announces, "This hunt is over with. Now we are hunting the call sign of the other person," and that's the cue for the person number 2, the person that found you, to start transmitting, and so they can start reading out of the newspaper, QST, or whatever, just tell jokes, whatever they want to do. Time for them to start transmitting, and now everybody is hunting them. And then the first person to find that person, they've got 15 minutes. And so now if everybody's found the first person, then everybody's just going to sit around and wait for the 15 minutes. But the idea of it is you give a certain time. It doesn't have to be 15 minutes. I'm just using that. But 15 minutes to go hide and find yourself a place. And it's not always the easiest way to try and, I mean, I've seen people pull into one of these spray car washes themselves. And, you know, that's a good enough place to, or in a bank parking lot or in a Kmart or whatever it might be or something like that. But anyway, you know, especially when you get out in a rural area, sometimes it makes it a little bit difficult to actually, you know, you got a certain period of time to try and find yourself a place to hide, but you pull over to the side of the road and, okay, start transmitting. Your turn, you've got the 15 minutes. That's what I call a progressive hunt. And the thing that's nice about it is when the hunt's all over with, everybody goes to a pizza parlor and has pizza for lunch or something like that. So and the YLs like it also. They like it because it brings everybody together and everybody participates, and more than likely everybody gets an opportunity to be the fox. So.
Okay, one or two last things. We'll take questions if not, and you're welcome to come up and look at any of the equipment and see how it works or play with it. We've got time. We're the last people in here, so they're not going to kick us out for the next forum. So feel free. I also got a couple basic kits still up here in my tote if anybody's interested in them. If you don't have to get any materials together, all you got to do is build them. All you need is a little cement for a PVC pipe, but that's about it, the soldering gun. So all the other ones I blinked and they were gone. So that was that. But we're going to have a fox hunt tomorrow, assuming that Noah's Ark is not required. If you were here this morning, you know what I mean. Okay. It's a 2-meter hunt. And I say with lots of transmitters, at last count, we were going to put out all on 2 meters, all on different frequencies, 37 transmitters. Yeah. Oh, 2 are on the same frequency. That's not allowed. No way. Yeah. So that is tomorrow afternoon at, it's called James Ranch Park, and if you're in the big parking lot, it's across the street, basically. Okay? You drove by it if you came from the one direction, and if not, it's very close to it. Oh.
How it works is you show up, we'll give you a piece of paper that's got the frequencies of all 37 transmitters. And every single transmitter has got a little tiny tag on the antenna that it'll be, most of them are all either two letters, two numbers. It could be GQ or something like that. Anyway, but you write in on the piece of paper that you have. Bring an ink pen if you can. But anyway, you write on the piece of paper we give you. You write the number of the transmitter, the code for that transmitter, and that proves you've been there and found that transmitter. And in the end, when it's all over with, we grab all the papers, look at all of it, and determine who the winner is. And you can tell them about the ARL.
Yeah, ARRL gave us 3 nice gift certificates to hand out. And we'll do one for the most transmitters by mail. We might, depending on how people show up, we might do one for youth under 18. And then we might do one for YLs. You know, we have to see how many people show up. We play it by ear, but we do have 3 very nice gift certificates, compliments of the American Radio Relay League. And we do appreciate that they do that for us every year. 4 o'clock it starts, okay? And we hope to see a few of you there. And again, we will have 6 or 7 probably spare blue box receivers, the Aussies, which are very simple to understand and use, and plenty of tape measure antennas. Yeah.